And it is it's a camp. It's a kind of a prison. If you don't perform your job well, or somebody thinks you're not performing your job well, or if they think that you're disaffected, if they think that you're not in agreement with David Miscavige or with management or with L. Ron Hubbard or something, they put you in this camp, this project force, to try to get you to think right again, to have the correct way of thinking. Again, it's total mind control. When you're on the RPF, you have a similar, very strict schedule. You have no newspapers, you have no magazines, you have no cell phones, no telephone at all, no television, no radio, no books. The only thing you're allowed to read is the things from L. Ron Hubbard, because that's the truth, nothing else is the truth. The control of information is a big part of mind control. And it happens to a degree for general Scientologists, like the people that live here in Hamburg. But it happens to an extreme degree when you're on the RPF. I was on the RPF for 6 years. That was from 1995 to 2001. And I could not leave. I was in the same place for that entire time. There are security personnel who make sure you don't leave. There were motion sensors around the entire area where the RPF was. When I was there, there were up to 120 people in this project force, this rehabilitations place. And it is like virtually you're in prison. Some people would try to leave, they'd try to walk out, they'd be grabbed, brought back. Part of the mind control is that if you do leave, you know that you will lose any family you have who has anything to do with Scientology. You will lose your friends. And what is probably the biggest thing is that you feel you will lose any hope you have for your own personal salvation. Your own personal future, you believe, will be some horrible thing that's going to be happening. And so you think that, okay, I just need to keep getting through this. When I look back, it just seems so crazy. Why would anybody do it? But the mind control is such that it seems to be the only way. During the time on the RPF, twice I got put on what they call the RPF's RPF. And this is like the RPF for the RPF. And this is a particularly degrading and difficult thing to live through. I can give you a couple of examples. Like I said, we all have our horror stories, and I'm fine now, so okay, it happened. One might be interesting for the Germans here. The person I worked with on the RPF was Wiebke Hansen, and she was earlier the head of the organization here in Hamburg. And we were both on the RPF's RPF together. And one day we had to dig up the septic system for the property where we were. This is the sewage. There was this large house and they had this sort of sports field and the septic system was underneath it. And we actually had to dig down to all the sewage. We did not have any masks or anything to prevent illness or inspection. And Wiebke was there right with me with the shovel, and we're digging this all up. They were trying to fix something, I don't know what. One time in particular, we were supposed to be replacing a pipe, and right then, raw sewage was running through it. It's one example of some of the crazy things that happened. I don't know if anybody knew Wiebke, but she was sort of a sophisticated lady, She dressed nicely. She was actually an artist before she got in Scientology, and there she was digging in the sewage. Another time, I was put on the RPF's RPF, and this was after I'd had a discussion with David Miscavige, and he didn't like the way I spoke or something. Actually, what got him mad at me was he walked in the room I was, and I did not stand up. He really demands, he feels he's so special that he has to get special respect. So they put me on the RPF's RPF, and for a period of about 2 weeks, we're out in the desert in Southern California. It's summer. It was in August. Extremely warm. I don't know, 35, 38 degrees Celsius during the day, something like that. And I had to sleep in a little shed, a little shack that had been built to store papers. And I had a piece of concrete that was just about my height, and it was about this wide, and that's where I slept. There were 2 people who stayed up all night outside the door to make sure that I didn't escape. The door, it was closed, no windows, extremely hot inside. All I had was a blanket, no mattress. It wasn't a great place to sleep. They put a baking pan. This is a metal pan about this long, and they leaned it against the door from the outside so that if I opened the door, it opened out, and I tried to sneak away or something, it would fall over and make a loud sound so that they knew that I couldn't escape. That was one of many things that happened, and I'm only telling you to give you an idea of what these people are capable of. Another point of the control, when you go on the RPF, and also if you're at the international headquarters where several of us worked, they take away your passport or identification. Finally, I was out of the RPF. I was in New York City, and I decided to run away. And so I had to sneak away. I went down some back stairs at one time when nobody was watching and snuck to the bus station and got a bus. All I had was what I could carry, 2 bags with some clothes. And I had a couple of $100, which was enough for a bus ticket. And I had to start a new life. It's not easy. You have no resume. Amy talked about this earlier today. You go to apply for a job, what do you say? Oh, I worked in the Sea Org for 24 years. So, that's not going to get you a job. I was fortunate, it worked out for me. I was able to find some things. But that's another part of the control. I also knew when I left that I would lose some of my family. I have 2 nieces. They live in Florida. Well, one of them moved now, but they will not talk to me. And what's probably the most painful is my son. He was born in the Sea Org. He left also, and he's with me now. He's doing well. But his own mother will not speak to him because he got declared as a suppressive person. And his own brother will not speak to him. And these are the kind of control mechanisms. That's sort of one of the points I'm trying to make, is how insidious this is. And that's why I hope that in Germany and in other countries that people keep an eye on them. Watch what they do, because it is very insidious, and it can happen. People can get sucked in. And people like all of us who are actually in many ways quite capable. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say, my experiences in the Sea Org. Thank you very much.